Hey guys, it's Will from Tested.
And it's Norm from Tested.
Norm, what time is it?
I can tell you right now with either my smartphone or a smartwatch.
But can you tell me what time it is in Swatch Internet time?
No.
I can. It is 811 beats on June 16th, 2014. You know how I can do that?
Because you have a fancy smarch.
It's Smarch? Is that the new term?
Smarch.
Is that like phablet or iPad?
Smartwatch. Smart.
Don't ever say Smarch again. It's the month between April and March.
Right. We both have Pebble smartwatches.
Pebble Steels.
Pebble Steels. Pebble Steel.
It's like It's like half of Wonder Woman's bracelets, except for it's a watch and it's not indestructible.
So Pebble was one of the first very successful kickstarted smartwatches.
Yeah, they raised like $9 or $10 million in Kickstarter, which is still a huge amount of money.
And they released a smartwatch last year, the original Pebble, which is for Kickstarter backers $100, and now we can buy it anywhere for $150.
They have it at Best Buy.
Yes, and it's plastic shell. Looks okay.
It looks kind of like a fitness accessory, but it's not quite as slick looking as, say, a Nike Fuel Band or a Jawbone Up or something like that. And it isn't as cool looking as like those Japanese watches you see in Japantown and online and stuff like that.
And then at CES this year, they announced the Pebble Steel, which is what we have. Now, functionally, this Pebble Steel, exactly the same.
Almost exactly the same. They don't talk about innards other than like what kind of components the screen uses. There is one addition. There's a tricolor LED that lights up when the charger's on. So I don't think, as far as I've seen, none of the apps I've seen have used it to date. But when you plug it in and it's charging, it goes from red to yellow to green. I don't think the original version actually had that. But other than that, it's the same.
So what can this do and how does it work?
Well, okay, so to start, it does all the normal watch stuff, right? So you can tell time. There's a bunch of different watch faces. You can switch between them by hitting those two buttons on the side, as I think you're probably aware. Yeah, those two buttons will let you cycle between different watch faces. Additionally, you can do things like control your music player on your phone. So it's connected to your phone constantly via Bluetooth and Bluetooth LE. It has two Bluetooth connections, at least on iOS. Is it the same on Android? And then the phone can pass notifications using the appropriate APIs in whichever platform you're using, so that all of your notifications show up on the smartwatch. So if you get a text, if I send you a text that says, "Hey Norm," it's going to pop up on your watch here momentarily. Text, and I'm getting a phone call, of course.
So the way this is interesting is because unlike Google Glass, this is not a complete Android device inside here. And there goes Hangouts from Will Smith. Text. There it goes. And I have more notifications.
They go all the way back.
So it's an accessory for your phone.
Yeah, this doesn't connect to the internet directly. It connects to your phone, and then the app that you install on your phone pulls stuff from the operating system that are handed out via APIs and pushes it out to the phone. You have, depending on the platform, you have a lot of configurability over that, or not too much.
Right.
For example, on the iOS side, in order to manage the notifications, you have to actually just turn them off at an OS level. So you can't have, say, only a subset of your notifications come to the Pebble on iOS. I think that's possible on Android using some third-party apps, right?
So because it's not a full computer, it's relatively small. The first thing we were worried about when considering smartwatches or any type of smart device that you're going to put on your wrist is how does this compare to, for example, a normal watch? And if you put this next to, for example, like a Timex watch, it's about the same size, the same thickness. It is pretty boxy, so if you look at the edge here, it's not beveled at all. It is a rectangle, and it kind of looks like, it's pieced together. When the guys prototyped this, they bought this screen, which is really what makes this work. There's a processor inside and a battery, which you can't swap out. But the reason the screen works is because it is a very low energy use screen. Yeah,
so it's called e-paper, which is different from e-ink. It's not like your Kindle.
Right,
or
your Kindle uses a patented technology, screen technology called e-ink, which does not use any power unless
it only uses power when it refreshes.
Right, uses otherwise very, very low power. So you can keep a Kindle fixed on one page for a very long time, for days, weeks, months at a time, without the power draining down. But the problem with that is that you can't get refreshes fast enough. That's
Yes.
why you can't play video on your Kindle.
So even on modern Kindles, which have very fast refresh rates for e-ink screens, still too slow to, say, animate a second's hand moving across the face of a watch. So these guys use a thing called e-paper, or they call it e-paper. It's actually a sharp memory LCD.
Yeah.
And all that means is that it's a special kind of liquid crystal display that uses a very low amount of energy to hold an image on a screen, and marginally more to refresh.
So whereas a normal LCD, like for example, if you buy a computer monitor, that is an LCD. There are grids of liquid crystals which can change color, in lots of colors, millions of colors, and a backlight, which takes a lot of energy to project like that. The sharp memory LCD, what it does is it's reflective. So without there being a backlight, now there is a backlight included here for you.
I think it's more of a front light, actually.
Front light, a side light, whatever. As I'm bouncing this, you can see that it works best when the light is actually bouncing off. It's binary. It's on or off.
Right. There's only one color.
And it's still taking a little bit of energy, so this isn't going to be your Kindle where it's going to last a month without charging. But it's this compromise where you can use low energy when it's in this persistent state, but when the time changes, so you'll see that, or I can just swap when I want to change a different screen, it'll actually play an animation. That's moving at a pretty fast refresh rate compared to your Kindle. And so you get a battery life at around 5 days.
Well, and you see it more if you use a watch face that has a hand. So for example, like this guy right here.
And
or seconds refreshing, yeah. So the hand refreshes, the seconds hand refreshes constantly. It works pretty well. Battery life, it's interesting because battery life on smartwatches we've tested in the past ranges between a couple of days to a full week, which is what Pebble advertises. I think 5 to 7 days for both the Steel and the first gen Pebble. In my experience, 4 is probably about when I start thinking about charging. It starts giving me 20% battery warnings at 4 days, and I've never gotten to 7 days with normal notification use.
Yeah, it's around 4 days, and at 20% warning, you do get notification pop up even if you don't run a battery app.
Yeah. So it's battery life is real, and just to be clear, 20% will definitely, even if you're just walking out of the door, 20% will get you through the rest of the day. Your watch won't die in the middle of the day. But even though let's say 4 or 5 days is really good battery life for a smartwatch, it's absolutely terrible compared to the cheapest watch that you buy on the impulse buy rack at Target. Right. Even a kid's digital watch with Kermit the Frog on it is going to last a year with a single battery.
This isn't something I would want to take on a month-long trip, for example. It's another thing to charge, and if you're going international, then you're talking about more chargers. But at the house, it's kind of like an iPad that you use very frequently, where you're going to charge that once a week or so. Maybe even more frequently than an iPad, but it's just another thing that you plug in.
I charge my iPad every night. What are you doing?
Once a week.
Once a week. Okay.
Once a week. So and to charge it, it's a it's a magnetic connector, the MagSafe. That's probably to keep it water resistant. You can wash your hands while this is on and not worry about it shorting. And that just plugs in right there. It snaps right in. Boop. Right there.
And it has the lip on the bottom so you get it oriented right.
It's USB.
It charges very quickly I just use an old iPhone charger, the small 5-watt one. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it seems to charge in an hour. It's hardly any battery in there, so it does. Even if you forget to charge it, you wake up in the morning, you realize you need to charge it. You can put it on the phone, put it on the charger while you're in the shower, and you'll have enough to get through the day when you're done. Okay. It's just one more thing to worry about. It's a little bit unfortunate.
One more thing to think about, but that's the world that we live in now until batteries get better.
That's true.
So, what can you do with it aside from telling the time? You can, of course, have as many watch faces as you want in terms of loading them on.
Beats. I got the Beats.
You got Beats?
I got Beats Internet. Swatch Internet time. It's 817 beats now.
Awesome.
It's been 6 beats since the last time we talked.
So the way it works is that the Pebble can hold slots. Each watch face takes a slot.
Well, so there's 2 categories of things you can put on your Pebble. There's watch faces and there's apps. Watch faces are fairly straightforward. They do everything from mimic traditional watch faces to crazy things like perspective skewed LCD panels. I think you had in there. There's text watch faces that give fuzzy definitions of the time. For example, I have one that will tell me now it is 20 to 12.
Right.
So it's 11:37. 20 to 12 is what it comes up with. There are probably, they don't list the number of watch faces that there are in the store. It seems like there's at least a couple of thousand. They range in it's the typical range of quality that if you ever spent time on the Palm App Store or maybe the HP WebOS App Store, you recognize the level that we're talking about here. Some of them are very good, some of them are very bad, some of them will destroy your battery, some of them are quite subtle and nice, and I quite like them. So
really, the things that destroy your battery are animations and vibration with notifications.
And also, there's a Pip-Boy one right there. And also things that cause internet hookups. So the thing that I found is that if you're doing stuff that requires the LE connection, it seems like the LE connection is always on, and that then if the watch detects something it needs more bandwidth for, it will fire up the full strength Bluetooth to pull it down, so it's not running full Bluetooth all the time. I think that's the big thing that let them do 5 days of battery life with this. So
on your watch, you can load 8 slots. And each slot is either a watch face or an application. Some apps won't be in your normal rotation. And you have your locker full of apps. So for example, if I don't like this one, I think this is kind of not that great, you can just tap it and you can say unload, and it will actually pull it while it's connected to Bluetooth from the Pebble, and that watch face will be unload. So I'm 7 out of 8 slots to use. And for example, if I want to put something like Pandora control on there, I can upload that, or I'll put even something like let's do Tetris, and I'll say load.
So there are a handful of games out in the Pebble App Store, and just to be clear, most of the apps on the Pebble side are either free on the Pebble side, or you maybe need to buy a companion app for $1 or $2 that lives in the main Apple iOS App Store or Google Play App Store.
Yeah, and some of these will have companion apps like cameras. If you want to use the Pebble as a remote camera, you need to download the camera app that's on your Android or iOS store.
Or, for example, I have a thing called Smartwatch Pro, which lets me show the phone's battery life, the watch's battery life, the current connection status to the phone, my next meeting, weather status, all that kind of stuff. That's going to use more battery.
I can play Pong.
Why would you play Pong on your phone, Norm? Is
because
this a good
it's
idea?
so retro. It's so retro. But really, this is a thing to tell time, which I'm very comfortable using this. I think it's really nice to not have to pull the phone out. It's a thing really to let you know whether you need to take your phone out of your pocket or not. Which is a very first worldy.
You're describing,
the
first worldiest to first world problems.
That's if you're going to pay $150 or $250 for a digital thing that lives on your wrist, that's what you're paying for.
Well, and just to be clear, like in the $250 watch price range, I think we're looking at like Fossil and kind of mall watches. You're not getting up into like the Rolex and the Tag Heuer and those kinds of
and those
price
things
ranges.
are things that will last,
those are heirlooms.
Decades.
Yeah, you buy a Rolex and you give it to your kid when he goes to college.
This will last maybe 2 years, and that's it. And there'll be a new version out.
Right.
Or some other company will come out with
it. It's like I said, it's the same as the Fossil. I think it's the same market as the Fossil watches. Those things, you replace them. You can get a new crystal on them if you break it, if you scratch it or break it. You can get the battery replaced, that kind of stuff. But it's for the most part something that it's a nice watch, but it's not a $2,000 watch.
So the thing it does well is it does really good job on both iOS and Android of just sending notifications.
It is
just piping whatever notifications pop up. Yeah. That's what you get.
Yeah.
So on iOS, you had to call what notifications your phone sends you.
It's something I typically do anyway, just because I think it's a general good practice to only have the phone buzz for things that are important. Like if I get a phone buzz every time somebody adds me as a friend on Game Center, or every time I get an email in my spam folder, I've made mistakes. I found that having the watch on and having it vibrate every time a notification came in made it even easier to decide which notifications made the cut and which didn't.
Right. Do you really need Facebook notifications?
No.
Maybe not so much.
No.
Right?
The other thing I realized is that I want a lot more granularity in the control of notifications that I get, both on an app level basis. Like I would love to be able to say, okay, I want to see these notifications on my lock screen, but I don't want my wrist to buzz when a Facebook notification comes in. Like I want to know that somebody sent me a message on Facebook, but I don't need to know immediately. However, I do want to know immediately when you or my wife or Adam or Joey or somebody who I need to talk to quickly sends me a text message or even an email. And on iOS, at least, a lot of the granularity, both within the apps and on a per app basis, isn't really there.
Because it's basically a one-way connection. The Pebble isn't smart enough to parse that type of information. For example, Gmail it'll send all the notifications from Gmail. It won't isolate just the priority ones. On Android, there's a companion app that third parties have developed. It's called Pebble Notifier,
actually,
and this is the best one. You can tell it to exclude certain apps or include only selected apps, and set more advanced notifications, so you won't have the detailed notifications. I use this one so I get the Google Now stuff piped to the Pebble, and so I can get only my priority email to the Pebble.
So I mean that, like, where I ended up with my notifications is that the Google app, so I get Google Now notifications. Google Maps gets to give me notifications. My email client, after it's been filtered, and that's pretty much, and text messages and phone calls. That's pretty much all I get notifications for these days. It's really nice. It's worked out really well.
So if I'm playing music though, and I'm not going to actually play the music but I'm actually going to play the volume. I'm playing music now, and what happens is when the song plays, I can actually control the playback on the Pebble.
Yes.
And this works on iOS and Android, of course. But I can go hit the middle button, which is to go forward. So it's back, forward, up and down. It's very intuitive. And hit middle again. And I can have my NPR interview was going on right now. But if I press play, it should pop up. And that will work with whatever music player is being played on your
on iOS it works with whatever the most recent one, or if iOS doesn't know what the most recent one is, it just starts iTunes Radio, which is usually not what you want. But it's really nice when you're walking down the street and you have headphones on and you have your phone in a jacket pocket or in your jeans pocket. It's raining, you don't want to take your phone out, get it all wet. You can just play, pause, rewind. Of course, every pair of headphones I've owned for the last 5 years has the same controls on the thing.
Ability.
So the value is you can look up and see, oh yeah, I do this. I know what this song is now. I mean, like a lot of stuff that comes with this, it's kind of a small value, but it is a nice enhancement to the way I use my phone on a day-to-day basis. You can also add apps. So we haven't talked about apps a whole lot. There's some that will allow you to do things like send canned responses to texts. Obviously, you're not going to send, like a 40-character missive by going up and down and tapping select on different letters. That would take forever and it would suck. You're better off just taking your phone out. However, there are third-party apps that will let you send like the "Hey, honey, I'm on my way home" text at the end of the day that you send your spouse or loved one. You can respond to some texts. You can do like a "be right back" or "not available to talk right now," whatever. I found that to be kind of unwieldy and awkward for the most part. And because you have to install a secondary app to do that, it takes up one of your 8 slots. So I found I'd rather have more watch faces and some other stuff.
Yeah.
Now there are also apps, at least on the iOS side, that speak Pebble natively. So for example, Runkeeper, and I'll load this up so you can see. Runkeeper, when you're on a run, sees that you have a Pebble connected and just connects to it and starts showing stuff on the screen without you having to actually do anything. So let me load up Runkeeper here. I'm going to tell it we're on a walk and hand you the watch norm. So there's my Swatch internet time right now. Let's go walking. So I'm running right now. I'm going really fast. Let's see, does it show up over there?
Yep, saying your pace is 8 minutes per mile, and you've run 0.3 miles with that vigorous shaking.
I'm going so fast. So fast.
And I could, yep. Oh. There you go.
Okay. So the Runkeeper's the only one I've seen that pops up with that right now. But a lot of stuff seems like the potential for more apps to be integrated directly is there.
And then you have things like Evernote. You can tie in.
Yeah, Evernote. So it hooks into my Evernote account, and you can actually drill down and see like notes from the top of your notebooks and stuff like that. It's like that's something it is of really, like, I can see some really specific use cases for wanting to hook in your Evernote account to your watch. I am not sure that it's a good idea. It's not like a super usable experience, but you can see there's our Pebble Steel notes right there.
Right there. And you can
scroll up and down
and read.
Like, it's just a little tiny bit of text on the screen. Like I said, if you're a student, there are probably some applications that are jumping into your mind right now. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Don't use your Steel to cheat.
I mean, the idea of reading a document on this is kind of silly. Gmail, you can get your subject line. That's good.
Yeah.
But I would not want to use this as the primary interface for any computation.
I've used it for shopping lists. Okay. So it's a one-way interface. I order my shopping list the way I walk through the store, so I know like the produce is the beginning and the deli stuff is the end. So in that regard, it works really well because I just keep scrolling down and it stays on. It doesn't go to sleep like your phone does. You don't have like a $600 thing in your hand that you're going to drop when you bend over to pick something off the bottom shelf. So in that regard, it's pretty good.
So it's less checking your phone every few minutes and more checking less frequently your watch and then deciding whether you need to take your phone out of your pocket.
Yeah, it's the, I'm someplace, my phone's buzzing, I think I have something that's important. Do I check it and take the phone out and risk being rude for something that's minor? Or can I just kind of, no, it's fine, I can ignore it.
And it gives you just enough detail to whether you can make a decision whether you need to pull your phone out.
It's also good in places that you don't want to pull your phone out. For example, if you have turn-by-turn nav on your phone, you have it set up to give notifications when you need to make a turn. This buzzes, it says, hey, get in the left lane, you need to be turning in 2 miles. That's actually super useful because it doesn't mean that you have to hang the phone up here or have it in your hand like you're not supposed to in like 38 states in the country right now.
It's like a Google Glass Lite.
It is. It's a lot of the same benefits without the kind of the distractions and the fact that you have to wear the big dumb glass thing on your face.
And socially, it's more acceptable to look at something on your wrist, like a watch, than it is to look up in the top right-hand corner.
I mean, there is a social impact because the thing is, if you have this set up and you don't change your notifications and you always say yes to notifications, then it's going to be buzzing constantly if you're anything like, if you get spam on your email account. So you're going to be constantly looking. It's really hard to ignore the thing buzzing on your wrist. It only buzzes once. It's really good about that. But it's like you can't help but move your wrist up to look at it, really.
And that's why you have to tune it. I would also say don't rely on this for your notifications because it's not smart enough to know whether it's received the notification or not. So you might get messages or emails on your phone. Mm-hmm. If you put your phone on the table and walked away for a couple minutes, you might have gotten a notification and it wouldn't have piped it to your watch. Don't rely on this.
Well, so there are some newer watch faces that will alert you when you move outside of Bluetooth range of your phone.
I think that's
only happens at home.
Yeah.
Because you set your phone down on your nightstand, you go back out to the living room, all of a sudden, it's buzzing. It's super annoying when you forget that and leave it on the charger or something like that. Yeah. It's something I wish I could turn off on the couple of watch faces I do use that actually do that. The other thing about it is you tend to get like used to the vibration on your wrist, and it makes it easier to ignore the vibration in your pocket. It means that I can put my phone in my bag. Or if I'm out running, I can put it on my wrist thing, my shoulder thing, and it'll just be there, notifications off, which is nice. It doesn't handle repeated notifications well, so on iOS where it does that, hey, you got a text message, we're gonna buzz you again 5 minutes later, it doesn't show the second one. And I've also had, on iOS at least, problems with it losing sync with the phone.
And that's a Bluetooth low energy problem.
It's a Bluetooth low energy problem. Apparently Bluetooth LE doesn't reconnect automatically when it drops. So if you move out of range and it doesn't pick up in the right window of time, or alternately, if you have multiple Bluetooth LE devices, more than the phone can talk to at once. So I have an automatic in my car. I have a Bluetooth dongle for piping music into the stereo. Those two things plus the watch are one too many, and sometimes you have to turn Bluetooth on, turn it off on the phone, and then it reconnects.
Yeah.
It's annoying because you want to be able to rely on this for notifications, but at least right now you really shouldn't.
Yeah, but I think we're pretty positive on the idea of what this can do when it's refined, when you tweak it. I still think that at $250, it's really expensive. Even at $150, I really wish that I got in on the Kickstarter. $99 I think is a great price for what this does. With $250, it's kind of thing that I wish did a little more.
So the one universal piece of feedback I got is from women. People who carry their phone in a purse or a bag or something like that, you can't hear vibrations. Nobody likes ringtones. Nobody wants to hear your phone buzzing all the time. Most of the women that I've shown this to have been like, wow, I wish this didn't look so duty and it was a big square watch. I wish it was like a little round thing or something I could wear on a pendant or something like that. Because there's a very clear, hey, I got a notification, but I can't hear my phone thing that I think is much more appealing to the female market than necessarily to us. You went with the leather band.
Yes, I like the leather band. It's really easy to swap it out. With the chain band, you have to adjust the length, which takes a little more tinkering.
I spent like 2 minutes with a dental pick to fix it.
But it's really easy with any tool. Just unscrew on the side here. I think it's like a 0.1 or 0.2.
It's a small regular screw, and it's a normal 22 millimeter band. I think is what the number is. Oh, yeah. So you can put any watch band on it. It's a standard watch band style.
Apple is rumored to make a smartwatch, so I would say if you need one now, I think I would be happy with the Pebble. I'm not happy paying $250 for one. The things I wish it did is it had some local storage, so when you're not connected to your phone, if you want to run, for example, it can do the pedometer tracking and then sync it back to your phone, or if you wanted to create a quick voice message and have that, and then pipe that back to your phone.
There's a couple of things I really wish. One is that in San Francisco, this is a San Francisco problem, but I've noticed when we've gone to events and seen friends, like there's high adoption in this space, in our space, for the Pebble Steel. We've done interviews with people who are wearing their Steels. Like it's unusual to go someplace and see everybody wearing exactly the same watch. And that is a thing that will happen with this. My guess is that over the next few years, they're going to release a massive variety of styles and designs that use this technology, but that maybe fit you more aesthetically. So if, like, this watch doesn't jump out at you and you don't love it, don't go buy it, because there will be more. They're going to release a lot more of these, I'm sure.
And a lot of the price, I think, is that they're sourcing the screen, which you can buy the screen by itself from like Adafruit for $40, but it's only one manufacturer, it's only one screen, so they're kind of limited by Sharp producing these 96 by 96 pixel screens.
I like the design of this watch, though. I think it looks pretty good, and I think it fits into like that fossil category, the $250 kind of glamour watch that's not too expensive. I scratched mine within like a week of getting it.
Yeah, so here is an example of one that is scratched, and even though there's Gorilla Glass on top, you just bang this against some concrete and that's scratched.
Yeah, I was just walking, swung my arms and rubbed up against a concrete pillar, scratched it almost immediately. They don't have a way to repair crystals. Like if you buy a fossil, you can send it back to them for 30 or 40 bucks. They'll put a new crystal on it. They don't have anything in place to handle that at Pebble yet. Although when I emailed them, they said, yeah, you've had this for like 2 weeks, we'll replace it for you. So, I think their policy is that they do it on a case-by-case basis. But like you said, my assumption is this is a year or 2 year watch, maybe 3 or 4 if you stretch it. But it is not a watch that you're going to give your kids, because the hardware inside is going to change, the battery is going to get better, presumably, and hopefully you'll be able to do some more stuff in the future. You know what I wish?
What do you wish?
I wish that I could hold it up and go, okay, Google, give me directions to my house.
Yes, so you wish there was some tie into Google Now or Google Search or Siri.
I wish it was the endpoint for voice communications on my phone. I think that is a good that would be a good way to send stuff to the phone from the watch without having to put a lot of processing in the watch, hurt the battery life even more, but give me like just a way to respond to a text message from it. That's what I'm looking for.
Right. Maybe in next generation.
Maybe next generation. The other thing is the battery life. We talked about it at the start. 5 days for a watch is virtually no battery life. Yeah. I would love to see some perpetual designs that use the vibration, the natural motion of your wrists or something.
The natural motion of your wrist.
You walk, you swing. I'm not a robot. I move my arms when I walk. So that's the Pebble Steel. It's $250. The original one's $150. If you were buying one, would you buy the original that looks like plastic or the new one?
I wouldn't buy either. I think that I would want to pay $150 for this. Otherwise, I think it's too much. I'd wait.
You're waiting. Okay. So that's the Pebble. I think this is a good $250 watch. I think it's fair. We'll be back with more from Tested real soon. I'm Will.
I'm Norm.
See you guys later.
Bye.